Marty Burbank, oddly enough from Fullerton, met his wife Sion on a boat. Burbank proposed to her on a boat and eventually married her on a boat. Clearly boats were precious in his life. So when Marty's law business became successful, he decided he was going to buy, do you want to take a guess? A boat. A beautiful 40-foot yacht kind of boat. And the plan was that he and Sion were going to live out the American dream of success and sail around the world in a boat. But before he could act on his dream, Marty found himself in church, listening to his pastor speak about generosity, sacrifice, and paying it forward. Something happened. Marty had a classic epiphany. He realized that with his increased income, he also had an opportunity to plant seeds. Seeds that will make a difference in many other people's lives as opposed to just his own. The wheels began to turn. He remembered another congregant, a school teacher who told him of the struggles of her Anaheim kindergarten class. For several years, he'd donated supplies and food to the class, but that day he realized there was a much greater need. The kindergarten class of 26 kids were all non-native English speakers. They had little chance of even finishing school, let alone going to college. So Marty decided that instead of buying the yacht he dreamed about, he was going to fund 26 dreams. He was going to pay for these kids' college education. Marty and Sion were both first generation in their families to go to college, so he remembered what a struggle it had been for their families to find the money to put them through college. So he knew personally the significance of what he was offering these kids. Plus, by planting seeds of hope in these children at such a young age, it would give them the vision and assurance that they too could achieve their dreams if they worked hard. So the Burbanks started a foundation, which they will fund incrementally over the years to reach about $1 million. By the time these 26 kids are old enough, the Burbanks will have saved enough to finance all of their college educations. Their gift will require sacrifice on their part, like not going on lavish vacations and reining in their spending. But they believe it's worth it. They believe it's worth it because every year they will be reminded that planting seeds for others will yield abundant grace in their lives too. Since they were not able to have their own children, every year they will watch their 26 adopted children as they would their own. They will watch them grow, work hard, and look forward to a promising future. Likewise, the kids in the class feel so connected to the Burbanks that they consider them like a new uncle and aunt in their lives. They have created a web of mutuality. According to Mark Ewart in his book, The Generosity Path, most of our cultural messages around money support stockpiling, improving our social status, and counteracting our daily stress by spending for our own comfort, even on things that are not good for our own health and well-being. But as we know, such spending is short-lived. Longing for the latest smartphone only fills a temporary need. Soon that phone becomes a normal part of everyday life and its preciousness will wane. That thing that seemed like it would make us so happy if only we could own it becomes superseded by a desire for something else that we believe will bring happiness, and then something else, and then yet something else. It's a never-ending spiral of want and disillusionment. According to the dictionary, generous means freely giving more than is necessary or expected. In fact, the word philanthropy comes from philos, which in Greek means loving, and anthropos, which means mankind. So philanthropy means loving mankind. That's something we can do no matter what our income level. Mark Ewart challenges us to find some way to be generous every day of our lives. Generosity, it seems, ennobles us. Generosity helps us feel good. And that feel-good factor seems to last longer than the one we get from purchasing something we want. A study by Harvard Business School shows that spending money on someone else, even as little as $5 a day, can dramatically boost your happiness. And giving also builds connections between people. Recently, I had the privilege of finding a delightful surprise in my inbox. A person who clearly knew the value of generosity put an envelope in my box marked confidential. And when I opened it, it contained $50 in cash and an anonymous note that said, "Please pass this to someone. We're finding $50 would make a real difference." I almost cried when I read that, because just that morning, someone had contacted me who needed help to be able to buy food that week. On some subconscious plane, the giver had sensed a need and met it before it was even spoken. And even though neither the giver nor the receiver knew each other's identity, they became connected. They were connected through a sharing of resources, through a sharing of energy, because money is energy. Through giving and receiving, through goodness and grace. The person who was helped by this generosity got a sense of being part of the greater web of life and learned that they were not alone, struggling through some of the harsh demands of life. Our Unitarian forefather, Ralph Waldo Emerson, writes, and in this case, it is one of his more comprehensible things, "You cannot do a kindness too soon, because you never know how soon it will be too late." You cannot do a kindness too soon, because you never know how soon it will be too late. Seeding our future is about planting seeds now. Simple seeds. Add water and soil, and the seeds transform into new incarnations that are hard to imagine at the time of planting the seed. Not only do the seeds themselves transform into beautiful plants, but the plants then go on to feed or bring joy to many people. Your contributions to this fellowship are the seeds that become the energy and the joy on which CVUUF can thrive. When farmers wish to grow a large crop in a field, they start by first preparing and tilling the soil. They then remove any obstacles to growth, like rocks, that would prevent the seeds from flourishing. And then they fertilize the soil, add water and nutrients to make sure the seeds will have the best chance of developing into successful plants. Now, just like farmers, you spent the last year together tilling the soil, turning over what's going on here, reflecting and discerning the direction you wanted to go in as a congregation. And then you fertilize the soil of this community with regular communication, congregational meetings, the prescient ministerial search committee, and a strong mission. You watered your soil with events that brought you together for fellowship, meaning, and joy, such as your church campout, softball games, listening circles, and justice outreach. Lots of gatherings that build community and deepen your connections and reach out to make a difference in the world. All of these have prepared this fellowship for healthy growth. Just like farmers choose what they want to plant in the coming year, we assess what we want to do in the future as a congregation. How do we want to grow? And what needs do we have in the next budgetary year? And then we seed that vision through our pledging. You voted to endorse a visionary budget in June. A budget that allows for enriching your worship, expanding religious education and outreach efforts, supporting more families, and all the while sharing this beautiful sanctuary and fellowship hall. Obviously, if farmers don't plant seeds, there will be no new crop, no future for the farm. Sowing our seeds of generosity in this fertile church ground is our vital next step to achieve our thriving vision. A vision filled with promise, with a creative new ministry, with ideas for growth and making a bigger difference within and beyond our community. As we grow, our congregation needs tending. We can do this through intentional shared ministry. The various committees that run this congregation, from the board to the council to social justice, worship, pastoral care, and religious education, among many others. We do have a lot of committees in this congregation. They all water and tend the seeds of this community. Once our plants are mature, they're ready for harvest. And the fruit of our labors is shared 52 weeks a year. There are very few organizations that are truly open for business 7 days a week like ours. 52 weeks a year, our doors are open for inspiration, healing, for motivation, for justice, for sharing, and for community. We are open every Sunday to welcome all. My friends, we are interdependent. When we give to our congregation, our fellowship flourishes and is able to support us spiritually and emotionally. We count on each other. Interdependence is a cornerstone of our faith. Our seventh UU principle invites us to honor the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. Giving to our fellowship helps us create a web of mutuality and reach out to make a difference in the wider world together. It allows us to belong to an intentional community that is rare and precious in this isolating world. Deepak Chopra writes, "Giving connects the giver and the receiver, and this connection gives birth to a new sense of belonging." Just like the mysterious $50 connected the giver and the receiver, when we give to our community, we feel a greater sense of belonging to it. There are so many requests of our generosity every day. Probably like yours, our family's snail mailbox never misses a week without some caring organization asking for money. My email box is even fuller. We're socially active, conscientious, and concerned people. So we get requests for aid from nonprofits, people, and causes that want our help daily. So how do we decide where to give? Well, if I may be so bold, as I see it, when we give to this fellowship, we are giving to so much more than this immediate community. My family and I intend to do most of our giving here because of the wide scope of healing, connection, and justice work we all undertake together. Just think about the children whose lives are transformed by attending our religious education program, learning how they in turn might change the world for the better. What kinds of conversations do you think they might be having at school with their teachers and friends because of what they learn here when issues that matter come up? Envision our youth being raised with values of inclusion, justice, and kindness. Imagine what happens when we send them out into the world with a belief that they can make it a better place because they have practiced it here each week. Envision the parents who love bringing their kids here because they feel supported by this community. They've made many new friends and can attend all the events they like because we offer childcare. We offer some peace and depth in the midst of this hectic life. Envision the lives that our social justice programs transform. Visualize them serving the hungry and needy. See our efforts as we advocate for racial justice, for detained immigrants, and underpaid farm workers. Envision the hearts that are comforted by attending our services and hearing inspirational, healing messages and moving music. Envision those who are helped and encouraged by finding a community dedicated to compassionate living and justice in this world. And when community members get sick or lose loved ones, we are here for one another. All of this is possible because of you, our members and friends who are pledging so generously. You built this place from nothing. This beautiful sanctuary, fellowship hall, our classrooms, and our whole community are all here because you continue to pledge generously. Your money is supporting your values. You know the importance of this place in your life, and you want to see it thrive. You want to ensure its future. You watch the kids play and want the Conejo Valley Unitarian Universalist Fellowship to be here for them when they grow up. So please look within and ask yourselves now, if this congregation's future is up to me, how generous do I want to be? If this community's thriving is up to me, how generous can I be? How generous will I be? How generous do I want to be? How generous can I be? How generous will I be? As you answer that question, look at your life and remind yourself, if I do the majority of my charitable giving here, I'm not only giving to my beloved community, but also to the wider world through our programs that make a difference far and wide. We transform the world through who we are and what we do here. And the reality of 21st century life is that all those efforts take money to sustain. Our consumerist culture teaches us to come to an amazing place like this and simply consume, like going to the movies. Our lives are demanding, and we need a place where we can go and be spiritually nourished. Yes, We do. However, our greatest satisfaction will also come from replenishing the place that nourishes us. Knowing that what we offer here only exists because we make it happen makes it that much more sacred. Year after year, you all have come through like heroes. This year, this community needs you as much as ever. The decisions we make now, the generosity we offer today will impact this congregation today, tomorrow, and for generations to come. As Reverend Dr. Peter Rabel said, we build on foundations we did not lay. We warm ourselves by fires we did not light. We sit in the shade of trees we did not plant. We drink from wells we did not dig. We profit from people we did not know. We are ever bound in community. What will you build for future generations? What extraordinary people will stand on your shoulders in 2066, another 50 years from now, with gratitude and appreciation for how generous you were in 2016? How will we pay it forward to them? This is a packet of California poppy seeds. And as I shared with you earlier, they need soil, water, and light to grow, especially if you want them to shine their joyful colors on everyone. And they were decorated by our middle schoolers and our YRUU group, placing chalices and flowers to make them even more beautiful. In a moment, we're going to invite each one of you to take a packet of seeds as a symbol of how you are sowing the future of this congregation. These seeds represent spreading joy and beauty and abundance around here and beyond. And because they're native plants, as you heard earlier, they are hardy. You can sprinkle them around the grounds here or beautify other areas beyond our parking lot. You could sprinkle them on your street or in desolate areas, anywhere you wish to spread joy and beauty. They represent how the work of this fellowship revitalizes life within and beyond our walls. Now, some of the seeds you plant will take root and grow, while others will blow away and die. Just as some of the ideas we plant here manifest, while others don't. That's normal. But the important thing is that we are sowing seeds for our future. Without these seeds, we will not have the future we envision. So I want to share a video with you now, which really inspires me. We're going to play it while we pass out our seeds. I hope it touches and uplifts you as it has me. Optimism, vision, and hope are so necessary in today's tough world. They are not the enemy of the intellect. They are the currency that helps us pay it forward. They lead to inspiration and action. And they've been known to cause epiphanies and spontaneous outpourings of generosity. So don't hesitate to pledge generously according to your means.